Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alu al-hazna idha shi'ta sahla. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, who is worthy of worship. Is no one worthy of worship in truth except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all praise and salutations be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all those who adhere to Sunnah until the end of times. So inshallah we will resume our book once again for the newcomers, new faces that are in attendance. The book that we are journeying through is the name of the book, or the caption of the book is called Al-Qasidah Al-Ha'iyah fi Zuhd wa Tarhib wa Tarhib, a poem written or documented by the author Hafidh al-Hakami, who was born in 1924, passed away in 1958, at the age of 34. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has endowed him with immense knowledge, and he was known for his impeccable memory, his outstanding caliber in terms of sciences, his comprehension, retention ability. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him soar and rise above the rest of the scholars. And he was known, his characteristics in terms of, apart from being his retention ability, his adherence to knowledge and his acquisition of knowledge, also his steadfastness with regards to upholding the commandments of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and staying away from the reprehensible innovations. So that also made him outstanding feature and caliber of the scholar. So he wrote books on different disciplines, in fiqh, hadith, science of hadith, asma wa rijal, names of narrators, biographies, all sorts of subjects, all assorted subjects that he basically specialized in. And the book that we are dealing with now is that deals with the delights of the hereafter, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set forth in terms of our rewards for the hereafter, our preparation, our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what the hereafter entails, as zuhd, asceticism, raqaiq, heart-softening narrations, and also traversing the path towards Allah upon the guidance of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just to give a brief review with regards to the answer of the book. So the author starts off with regards to what is zuhd, renouncing the world, how should we approach the world, and the delights thereof, and also trying to be far aloof from the things that will be of a detriment to us. And then he made mention of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his lifestyle, his guidance, and what he's commanded us with, and also for warning us with regards to the pitfalls and anything that will be a detriment to our hereafter, losing out and things of that sort. Then we also spoke about with regards to the realities of this dunya, being a trial, a calamity, and all these things pertain to things that are harmful for us. And Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us insight to foresight, and he prophesied and foretold that these things will surely descend upon you, and if they do, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has unveiled, then you need to take these sorts of approach. Take recourse to azkar, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all these things. So we spoke about sadness, grief, sorrow, all the things that the dunya has and ought to have, because the dunya is filled with trials and tribulations. It's not like the hereafter. And then Imam gave us also a remedy to redeem ourselves, and also how to diagnose these sorts of things like anxiety, distress, and these sorts of things. So now we have reached the last 3 weeks. We address these ailments and qualities of people of righteousness. So now inshallah we'll start with regards to Hafidh al-Hakami's guidance with regards to safeguarding yourself from aforementioned things like the anxiety, the distress, the worry and grief, without that, but moving forward, anticipating the road from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to be far aloof from that, if it resurface again in the future. So Hafidh al-Hakami rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فَاسْأَلُوا رَبِّي أَنْ يَحُولَ بِحَوْلِهِ وَقُوَّتِهِ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ إِخْتِيَالِهِ. He says that we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should implore and beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَنْ يَحُولُ بِحَوْلِهِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes us and transition us from all those aforementioned things, grief, sorrow, worry, and Allah bestowing upon us vigor, insight, and might to be far aloof from that things that will be a detriment to us and our ikhtiyali. Ikhtiyali means this word denotes your fate, your destruction, and those things that will be a harm to you. So Shaykh Abdul Razak or Dr. Abdul Razak, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, who's the explainer of this poem, he says the first recourse that you take is to seek aid and help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is the source of aid and help. They made mention with regards to the various prophets, taking their guidance, emulating them. Because who are the best of people? Prophets. Allah sent them with revelation to convey to the people what is best and suitable for them, how to remedy the hearts, the legislation, to fulfill the commandments and stay away from the prohibitions. So Allah sent to every nation, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةِ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. And we've sent to every nation announcing and proclaiming to worship Allah alone and to shun all false deities. So every prophet, his goal and his message that Allah dispatched him with is the fulfillment, acknowledgement, and recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not to associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to fulfill his right exclusive for him. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sovereignty and domain over his creation. So Shaykh Abdul Razak, he mentions a few invocations or supplications of prophets whereby we need to emulate. So Ayyub alayhi salam, he says to Allah, Anni masniyadur wa anta arhamur rahim. Oh Allah, calamity has befallen me and grief has befallen me, wa anta arhamur rahimin, and you are the most merciful. You the most merciful. Oh Allah, you my Lord, has sovereignty over me. You are the most merciful. And Ayyub alayhi salam, he didn't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove his ailment or sickness. And that's what some of the tafsir said, that he only wanted to seek repose and solace with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the highest form of ubudiyah, servitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, speaking, conversing, and having dialogue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that can alleviate all stress. لَيْسَ لَهَا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ كَاشِفًا. Who is it that can remove stress and harm except him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Musa alayhi salam, he says, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayhi min khairin fakir. Allah, I'm in dire desperation of anything that you descend upon me. I'm at my knees. I can't anymore. Allah, you descend your goodness upon me. Anything that comes my way, I'm in dire desperation of them. It was Musa alayhi salam's plea and beseech towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Yunus alayhi salam, his invocation towards Allah was La ilaha illa ant subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. There's no one worthy of worship in truth except you are Allah. La ilaha ant subhanak. Glorify, granted to you, you free from every blemish. Inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. Very I am of the transgressors. And with regards to that, that dua, Him sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there's no servant that undergoes grief or is in too much distress except Allah subhanahu alleviates his distress. And there's another narration or variation is no one implores Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except Allah, and he responds to him. So why Him sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving this indication of the magnitude of this invocation of Yunus alayhi salam is due to the rights and the standing and caliber that the prophets have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophets have the highest standing and caliber and the recognition with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why it's binding and duty bound for us to follow the prophets, especially him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to follow him in every single facet of your life, in every dilemma. And we always make this the foundation of all our lectures and talks, that everything that you do is you need to seek the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be sincere, be honest in doing things in fulfillment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and doing it upon the guidance, the blueprint, and the formality of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't tread upon innovations. Don't tread upon superstition, bogus things. No matter how sincere you are, no matter how much you are, you have that evoke of sincerity, or that you deem that you have sincerity. If it's not upon the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it will be rejected. Mardud an sahibi, his deeds, his in toil, striving will go to waste, and the deeds will be thrown back on his back. It will be no avail to him. So that is something that we always make mention to the listeners. In every topic, every science that we speak about, we always make mention to emulate the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and upon Ibrahim alayhi salam, he says to Allah, Rabbi habli hukma wa al-hikni bis salihin. Allah, bestow upon me yani wisdom and guide me and join me with the righteous. This is the dua of yani Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is waj'al li lisana sidqin fil akhirin. Allah, make me yani a mention for those latter generation that will come after me. And just the mere fact that Sheikh Abdul Razak, Dr. Abdul Razak is making mention of this is a legacy of Hafiz Hakami. This book that we're reading is a legacy of Hafiz Hakami. So his honesty, his truthfulness, his steadfast and adherence to the Sunnah, Allah elevated him. Do you see how everything ties in? Your truthfulness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your adherence, your stalwart to adhering to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are zealot, you want to be, you arduous and desirous for the Sunnah wherever it goes. You evolve and you rotate to the Sunnah in every dilemma, in every circumstance. You try to fulfill them. And what Allah does with you, in a case like that, and you have that firm desire and yearning for Allah, Allah will elevate you. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala says, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, and we to you, Allah is addressing Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have exalted you and extolled you on exemplary character. You know, we made mention of you. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said, this is for everyone that adheres to the Sunnah. You will also be encompassed in this. You will also have this portion of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now you see Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he says that Allah make me or make my mention for the latter generations. It's just sincerity. Ala lillahi din al-khalis. Be sincere with Allah. Be truthful. Be truthful with the servants of Allah. Adhere to the Sunnah. Be truthful in adherence to the Sunnah. Defend it. Remove all the distrust from the people that have innovated in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will elevate you. And then also, of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with regards to his du'as that he always used to say, is Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Allah, the turn of the hearts, turn my heart towards your deen. Repeated, he frequented this dua over and over and over and over. And when they asked him, his wives asked him, O Messenger of Allah, like, why do you frequently supplicate with us? Like, we believe in that which you came with. Do you fear for us? And the Nabi responded, he said, yes, he fear us. He fears his ummah. Why? Because al-qulub bayna asabi ar-Rahman, that the hearts of the son of Adam is between the two hands, between the fingers of ar-Rahman. So we affirm what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has affirmed for himself, and we affirm what He sallallahu has affirmed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we don't make any interpretation. We say it's like that, and the mannerism and the howness modality is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says that the hearts of the sons of Adam are bayna usba'i ar-Rahman, yuqallibuha kayfa yasha. Allah turns the hearts in every way He wishes. So if you deem, this is also another thing that we're going to come to now, inshallah. If you deem you are upright and you are truthful and sincere, but you think you're intelligent and you don't seek Allah's guidance and aid in anything that you embark on, then you are fool. You are fool, you are safi, because you rely on your intellect. That intellect, that flawed, deficient intellect that Allah has given you, you rely upon that. And you think you know better, but you deform, you're deficient. You self-inflicted with ujub or self-amazement. So your deeds, irrespective you are on the sunnah or you're upon sincerity to that which you claim, will be of no avail to you. Why? Because you still have that thing lingering down in you that you know better, you know how. And this is also not good for someone that yearns for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to repeat this dua, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. That Allah grant us the best of this life and the hereafter, and save us from deliver us from the torment of the hereafter. So Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that what is the goodliness of this life and the hereafter. He said the goodliness of this life is yani al-ilm al-nafi', righteous and sound knowledge, and what is for the hereafter, the goodliness and the bounties that awaits you in the hereafter is al-amal salih. So the righteousness that Allah subhanahu bestows upon you, and you worship Allah upon that, upon guidance and insight, whatever ensues from that, you're taking the path upon the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that will be your delight in the hereafter. Al-amal salih, that is yani the righteous deeds for the hereafter. So Shaykh Abdul Razak, he continues and he says that is just the first part. The second part is وَيَحُولُ بِحَوْلِهِ. Now this term يعني يحول بحوله, transitioning, is لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. There's no might, no power except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no transition from sickness to health, deficiency to upright or rectitude, from poverty and distress to richness, affluence, except with the help and aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot achieve it by yourself. Himself said, Man kathratul humum, whoever is overcome with abundance of yani distress, things that he anticipate in the future, worries him all the time, always have this tension. While humum, things that engulf him now, فَلْيَقُولْ بِقَوْلٍ, then he should utter frequently, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Whoever says La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, all his distress, all his worries will be removed from him. So this is a remedy that the Prophet ﷺ gave towards his ummah. In another hadith, Imam ﷺ said also, Ala atulluka min bab min abwab al-jannah. Should I not inform you with regards to a door from amongst the doors of paradise? And then the Prophet ﷺ responded in affirmative, it is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no might and help, there's nothing of yani being in a state of immobilization. You distilled. It's nothing that you can do. You're incapable, except with the help and aid of Allah subhanahu. Allah don't bestow that upon you, and Allah subhanahu doesn't give you that vigor in life. There's nothing that you can do. No matter how much you intend, no matter how much you will be of no avail, except with the help and aid of Allah subhanahu. Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala said that the wise one, the intelligent one, you should ponder over this, because yani many calamities that befall people, yani the correct thing is to make istirja, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. That is one thing which is legislated. And also, if you are overcome with worry and distress, you say this, in conformity with the Prophet ﷺ's words. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, there's many things with regards to la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala says that this is one of the best remedies, yani due to the testification due to the testification of Allah's Messenger of this thing. And he said that there's nothing that can remove worry, distress, or repel worry and distress from approaching you, except by uttering this. Once you utter this, it's become like your sanctuary and your safeguard. You become immune to these things. Become immune to distress and that, just by safeguarding yourself by uttering La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And then Al-Manawi, he was also a great scholar, Shafi scholar. I think he was from the 9th century. He said that nothing unlocks the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing unlocks the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It repels worry and distress, and any anxiety, except the grandeur of this statement. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And then, yani, with regards to wa quwwati bayna wa bayna ikhtiyali. Ikhtiyali meaning annihilation or meeting of fate. The Prophet ﷺ said with regards to this world, he said, Innal mu'mina khuliqal maftunan, tawaban nasiyan, idha dhukira, dhukir. He said that the believer is always trial. Allah subhanahu always trials him. It's inevitable, it's bound to happen, trial all the time. Trial with your wife, trial with your spouse, trials with friends, trials at work, trials will always betide you, irrespective of way, from whichever angles, right? And then he said also that tawaban is offering, yani this tawaban is yani a person that repents, falls into sin, reconfigure himself again, sincere, turns himself to Allah, and then again repents. So this is a person that is tawaban, always being repentful towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nasiyan, Someone that forgets, remorseful, heedless, you know, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Allah created us weak, always forgetting. Insan comes from the root word with the derivative, yani, nasiya mansiya, forgetfulness. So Allah created us like that. We forget all the time, even though we schedule things and we forget. We're prone to error and we're weak. So He said, nasiyan idha dhukira, dhukir. If they remember that the calamities that befall them, that will invoke some sense of recognition towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you bask in the receipt of happiness and affluence and all the things like we made mention last week, we tend to forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I speak of myself firstly, admonish myself firstly. When things get going, there's happiness, there's bliss, everybody's gleeful, you want to extol, you want to show people, Allah's given me this is a methodology, you can also apply that. So when you have all these boundaries, you tend to forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is, that's also bound to happen because insan is like that. He's blinded by the pomp and glitter and the embellishments of this world. But when the calamities hit him, the calamity befalls a person, then he's shaken. And now he redeems himself, regroups, and he redirects himself towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said, he said that a calamity that befalls you, that evokes that sense of, longingness for Allah, is better than the bounty, abundance of bounties that Allah descends upon you and causes you to forget. So I'll repeat that. He said, a calamity that befalls you, that evokes that feeling of remorse towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah instilled that in you. It's like a wake-up call. You alert and you triggered, and you turn yourself towards Allah. Is better than abundance of blessings that cause you to forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is very important, subhanAllah. We tend to forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control, no matter how righteous we are, no matter how truthful we deem ourselves to be. But once the calamity is before, then we see at-tamyiz. At-tamyiz is a very powerful word, Wasim. Tamyiz, at-tamyiz fi da'wah, your clarification and distinctive features in your da'wah, your calling away from the people of innovation, the books that you teach, the scholars that you associate with, the mannerism, your genre of how you teach. These are all distinctive features that will cause you to rise above others. And in your da'wah, in your call, in your worship. So when the calamities befall you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will separate and will make that distinction between who is truthful and who is insincere, the hypocrite. And that's why we should always ask Allah to keep us upright, keep us upon guidance, keep us upon knowledge, and not cause us to be deluded with our own know-how. Then also, the Prophet also made mention, he says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Lam yabqa min ad-dunya illa bala'u wal fitnah, that nothing remains of this world except calamities, catastrophes, and fitna, temptation. This world is like that. This world is not perfect, it's deficient. So all these things that the Prophet foretold, this world is like that. It's inevitable that you will be met out with calamities, trials, and difficulties. Then Shaykh Abdul continues, he says, with regards بين الاختيال بين وبين أن تختالني الدنيا, that you not ensnared by the worldly allurements, فكم قد تزينت للخلق حتى فتنوا بها. And how many people were deluded by the pomp and glitter and the allurements of this world, and they took forth towards it, and then they were deluded and they were derailed from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were deceived by it, and they met the fate with regards to that. ولا خلاص من اختيال الدنيا وفتنتها للمرء إلا باللجوء إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى. You see that the person can only safeguard, be far aloof from the calamities that befall him and the pomp and glitter that ensnares the believer, except by turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking his help, seeking his aid, seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all prophetic invocations Sheikh Ismail's son, a good friend of mine, Sheikh Imran, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, wrote a book on remembrance in the morning and evening. I urge everybody to read that book. It's very short and comprehensive, but it's beneficial. And also, if you want to read Hisnul Muslim, read these things. There's no religion. There's no religion except Al-Islam has all the answers for it. Prophet Muhammad's guidance with regards to how to cohabit with his wife, the invocation for that, what to say when undressing yourself, what to say when entering the bathroom, what to say when entering the masjid, what to say when it rains, what to say when it thunders. There's no religion out there that has a distinctive, a subtle clarification of everything in its detailed form. So the Prophet conveyed everything to us. And he also gave us the remedies in terms of self-purification of the things if they descend upon us. And then Shaykh Abdul Razak said that the Prophet and he sought refuge in Allah subhanahu from these trials and temptations. He says, وَتَعُوذُ بِهِ مِنَ الْفِتْنَةِهَا كَمَا جَاءَ فِي صَحِيحِ الإمام البخاري باب في التعوذ من الفتنة الدنيا. So Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala has entitled in caption a heading in his book. That heading is to seek refuge from trials and calamities, and he brought forth this hadith of Sa'id ibn Waqqas, or Sa'id ibn Waqqas. He said, قال رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم كان رسول يعلمنا حول كلمات كما تعلم الكتابة. That he himself taught us these words, these forthcoming words, like how he taught us al-kitaba. I'm not too sure if the kitaba is right. The English is writing denotes writing. I'm not too sure if it's that or kitaba meaning like memorization. Allah knows best. Allah protect my tongue if I make an error. And then he mentioned this dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-bukhl. Allah, I seek refuge in you from miserliness, being stingy and being stingy. Wa a'udhu bika min al-jubn. I seek refuge in you from cowardness. Wa a'udhu bika an uradda ila ardil umri. I seek refuge in you, Allah, from transitioning back to old age, being incapable, having vigor and vitality, and removing that, causing me now to downward spiral to become old age, immobilized. So Prophet sought refuge in that. وَأُوذِ بِكَ مِنَ الْفِتْنَةِ الدُّنْيَا وَعَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ. Allah, I seek refuge in you from the trials of this world and the trials and temptations of the grave. And then he says that وَمِن دَعَوَاتِ النَّافِيَةِ مَا ثَبَتَ مِنْ حَدِيثِ ibn Umar, from the beneficial supplications or the invocations of the Prophet ﷺ, and call, he says, كلما كان رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقوم من مجلس حتى يدعو بهؤلاء كلمات لأصحابه. The Prophet ﷺ did not terminate or conclude a gathering except he said these words. So subhanAllah, very lofty words. We actually need a whole session with regards to elaborating on these words and what these words entail. So we know when we conclude, we say, what is the adhkar for majalis, kafaratul majalis? La ilaha illa anta subhanallah. And what is the sunnatul mahjura? Al-asr. So when you say sunnatul mahjura, Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala, the great Syrian scholar or Albanian scholar, Allah fill his qabr with nur, Amin. He said, Sunnatul Mahjura is, they say, abandoned sunnah. So how can something be abandoned if the people didn't know it in the first place? I repeat that. He says abandoned sunnah. Something that's abandoned. So if something is, he says, how can something be abandoned if people don't know about it? If you don't know about something, you can't practice upon that. So Shaykh Al-Albani, subhanAllah, with his insight and the knowledge Allah has endowed him with, he said that the people are far aloof and bereft of the sunnah of Allah's Messenger. our communities, they bereft from the Sunnah. They don't know what the Sunnah is. Why? Because they nurtured and fostered upon innovation, superstition, bogus things, yani, an ayah from here, a hadith from there, misplaced, misappropriated, in its irrelevant, yani, not in its relevant place. All these things are not from the Sunnah. And we always make mention, partial resemblance to the Sunnah is not the Sunnah in totality. Partial resemblance to something that's in, yani, has appearance of the Sunnah and it maybe entails that, is not of, yani, cannot be of the Sunnah. And we made mention of, and we give examples saying that this Maulid season, yani the Burda, you can have how many narrations from Sunnah Abu Dawud, which is authentic. Your utilization of that is inappropriate. Burda in and of itself contains, was enwrapped with some stuff that's legislated and authentic, and some stuff that are yani of shirk, calling upon other than Allah, extolling and revering the Prophet ﷺ over and above that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allotted for him. And he despises. Yani, and Prophet ﷺ warned us against us. He said, do not revere me in the way that you revere Isa ibn Maryam. What did the people do with Isa? They said, Isa, what? Isa alayhi salam is what to us? A prophet, isn't it so? A prophet before Prophet Muhammad. What did the Christians do with Isa? They revered him. They said he's a God, son of son of God, and all these things. So what do the people do in today's time? These Sufis, these Deviant people and ignoramuses, they do that. They call upon the Prophet ﷺ. They seek help, they seek deliverance, they seek aid. They make shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do they not know? At the onset, your inauguration of your Surah Fatiha, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone do we seek help. You alone do we seek refuge in. And these people, the Christians, what they did with Isa alayhi salam, this Ummah Muhammad sallam fell into the same thing. And the Prophet foretold that you will follow the footsteps of those that preceded you until they enter a desert hole. And then they asked, Ya Rasulullah, who are these people? Like, who are these people that you are addressing? Are they the Jews and the Christians? And they said, who else? So this is what's happening today's time. You will see this rampant and rife everywhere. Every Maulud program, the innovated program, a celebration of the Prophet ﷺ, there must be a taint and a resemblance to shirk, taking away from the servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to other than Allah. And in that, this ascription, and a partial form of servitude towards the Prophet ﷺ. And that's what this is why innovation, that we speak about these things and we speak about shirk all the time. It's not that to say that we are exclusive group or contingency of people that harp upon the same stuff all the time. That's nonsense. We dispel that fallacies. We can speak about fiqh and inheritance, every science, every discipline, we give its rightful due. But worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you must be far aloof from shirk in all its forms, all its manifestations. You can't make the tawaf around a grave because Prophet ﷺ forbade that. You can't call upon the inhabitant of the grave. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbade that. The Prophet ﷺ has forbade that. All these sorts of stuff that people deem as trivial, we deem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deems this to be major. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all sin. If you want to intermingle now with a girl or do whatever, Allah forgive. I'm not promoting that, advocating that. If you fall in, la samahallah, you're not falling that, and you repent towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah forgive. Allah forgive us sin. But if you associate with people that call upon the dead, and they say, no, do it, to enhance you to us, Allah's pleased with you, you're righteous. Look how righteous this person, look how righteous these boys are. They pay tribute and homage to the righteous people. Who said that people are righteous? Who said those people that are buried in this grave are righteous? All that we do, and in terms of our fulfillment, is we say, may Allah have mercy upon them. May Allah guide them. May Allah have mercy upon them. May Allah guide them. They didn't know. may Allah grant Jannah to Firdaus, but we don't follow them in the errors and the mistakes. So, coming back to the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma qsim lana min khashyatika ma yahulu baynana wa bayna ma'asik. Allah, yani, make a lot for me, or proportion for me, a transition between the sins, yani, and righteous deeds. Do not make my yani, sins outweigh in terms of their ratio more to the of yani, do not make my sins outweigh the ratio of my good deeds. Put a barrier in between that. And then he himself also said, وَمِن طَاعَتِكَ مَا تُبَلِّغُنَا بِهِ جَنَّتَكَ. Allah, make my righteous deeds that I've done for you, for one of you, to make me yani, a cause for entering or admittance into paradise. وَمِنَ الْيَقِينِ مَا تُهَوِّنُ بِهِ عَلَيْنَا مُصِيبَاتِ الدُّنْيَا. Allah, grant us that firm, decisive conviction. Udullah wa antum muqinina bil ijabah. Imam said, when you implore, beseech Allah, then you must be yani, firm, unwavering resolve. Udullah wa antum muqinina bil ijabah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't accept the dua yani, from a person that his heart dwindles, there's no submissiveness, not being attentive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not respond. Allah doesn't come to a person's aid that has this deficiency in him. So the Prophet said, وَمِنَ الْيَقِينِ مَا تُهَوِّنُ بِهِ عَلَيْنَا مُصِيبَاتِ الدُّنْيَا. Allah, give us a conviction and yani, upon rectitude and certainty that if the calamities befall us of this world and its misfortunes, then yani, reduce it, alleviate it. So you already foresee that the calamity will befall you. Prophet said, if it does approach you, Allah alleviate it. Do not be yani, a cause that I derail from your religion. And then he said, وَمِن طَاعَتْ عَفْوًا. Then he said, وَمَأْتِئْنَا بِأَسْمَائِنَا وَأَبْصَارِنَا وَقُوَّاتِنَا مَا أَحْيَيْتَنَا. Allah, yani, grant us that delight in listening to you and causing our faculties to subjugate in listening to you, the hearing, the sight, and giving us that vitality, keeping us upright, مَا أَحْيَيْتَنَا, as long as we live. وَجَعَلْهُ الْوَارِثَ مِنَّا, and make it incessant, always continuous, always yani, being obedient to you, Allah, yani, subjugating ourselves towards you. وَجَعَلْ ثَأْرَنَا عَلَى مَنْ ظَلَمَنَا, and Ya Allah, do not yani, ثَأْرَنَا عَلَى مَنْ ظَلَمَنَا, do not let our yani, transgressions overpower us, that yani, it causes us to be oppressed. وَانْصُرْنَا عَلَى مَنْ أَعْدَانَا. Allah, help us, grant us aid and victory with regards to the people the people that are hostile towards us, that has hostility, begrudgment towards us. Allah, help us and aid us with regards to those people that have any begrudgment and adversity towards us. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ مُصِيبَتَنَا فِي دِينِنَا. And Allah, do not cause a calamity or catastrophe in our religion. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ الدُّنْيَا أَكْبَرَ هَمِّنَا. Allah, do not make this world highest and loftiest aspiration. وَلَا مَبْلَغَ إِلْمِنَا. And do not cause that this worldly things, yani, whether it is things pertaining to that which we need, but do not make us a means of us engrossed in this worldly things. Like, it's always on our minds, always on our tongues. We're always, thinking about like the world things, that there is no other sciences, no other things apart from this. So himself said, وَلَا مَبْلَغِ إِلْمِنَا. Do not make this the epitome of our knowledge, it's just like stagnant and dormant. وَلَا تُسَلِّطْ عَلَيْنَا مَنْ لَا يَرْحَمُنَا. And do not cause people to reign supreme over us that they have no mercy upon us. Himself sought refuge in Allah from all these things. So Shaykh Abdul Razak, he puts here the caption of this. This is the dua that the Prophet also made mention of at the conclusion of every gathering. There's a lot of things entailed and denotes a lot of things. But he said one thing. So there is actually this one thing that encompasses everything. What did he say at the beginning? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The transition. Allah save me from the transition. And you see this pattern. It's interlaced. Allah, don't let people overpower us. They don't have mercy on us. Allah, don't let our faculties like the opposites. There we go with opposites. And we always make mention of this also in our classes. فَبِدِدْتُهَا قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ أَشْيَاء. knowing the opposites, the antithesis of something, many things are brought to light. So this entire dua of the Prophet ﷺ is asking Allah to save himself from these things that will be a detriment. So you ask Allah for that, and then the opposite also, safeguard himself. Allah asks you for this, to accrue this or messes, and also save me from that particular thing. That could be the opposite and the repercussion of that. And then the Prophet ﷺ also sought refuge in Allah in conjunction with this. He said, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min zawali ni'matik. Allah, I seek refuge in you from the declining of your favors. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min zawali ni'matik wa tahawwul afiyatik. The imminent change of afiyah is prosperity to misery. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min zawali ni'matik wa tahawwul afiyatik wa fuja'a ni'matik. A sudden calamity, spontaneous, erratic thing that can just befall you. Wa jami sahatik. And I seek refuge in you, Allah, from all the things that will be a cause for my misery and destruction. So here the Prophet ﷺ, he seeks refuge from Allah from the decline of the favors. Decline of the favors. SubhanAllah, when I was reading this in the week, I told myself, I know these things. I was telling myself, and this is also why we shouldn't don't depend on your memorization. Wallahi, I urge every single, don't depend on your memorization. Don't depend on it's in the compartment and it's just one word and triggers and everything is going to just ramble off. Don't revise your work, review your work. Although when I opened this thing, it was I know that. But now I know that. I know these things. All this adhkar, I can ramble it off my head. I can close my eyes. But where's the implementation? And I ask myself, when last did you say that? Allahumma inna a'udhu bika min zawali ni'matik. When last? For Kareem, speak to my soul. When last did you say that? From that time when I was reviewing this work until now, tell myself, wait, I need to reinstall. That's why we always say, فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remind one another, aid one another, giving gentle reminders, because a reminder is good for a believer. And I always say this as a student of knowledge, and all my friends, that I don't have any requisites when you address me. I'm just a normal Abdul Kareem. I studied, alhamdulillah. But whoever has knowledge and Allah is possessed, I didn't know. Allah A'lam. I said Allah A'lam. Allah knows best. Prophet says, whoever says Allah A'lam, the hadith is not authentic, but al-ma'na sahih. The meaning is appropriate. Is athuluthul ilm. 1/3 of knowledge which I didn't know. It's as-silahul mu'min. It's the weapon of the believer. So I didn't know something. I maybe listen to Al-Akh, Abu Khadija, last week we were driving. And this is very important. We give anecdotes and we give meaning and purpose to our talks. We leave people with imprints, to adhere to the deen of Allah SWT upon sincerity, truthfulness, and we instill that camaraderie and guidance, that happiness that you get in the light of knowledge. So last week I was speaking to Akh before we conclude, inshallah. He sent me a voice note. Allah preserve our brother, his family, Khadija, this life in the hereafter. Forgive his sins. The first recourse for 16 years, and he don't like praise. And this goes for all my other brothers, but especially him that I intermingle a lot with. First thing is, Abdul Kareem, attach yourself to Allah SWT. Mondays and Thursdays. Do I know that stuff? Do I know Monday and Thursday? I know this, I almost know that years back. So I know that with the back of my head. I know where's found it. But the thing is, where is it with regards to implementation? You see, you have knowledge has piled up, but the implementation of that is that which you need to ignite. First thing you told me, Monday and Thursday to Kareem. Second thing is legislated adhkar. SubhanAllah, legislated adhkar. These things I know already. Listen, okay, at the recap, let's spark, ignite, SubhanAllah. Immediately, as is on, listen to the voice and all this stuff is, reviewed in my mind. One of the stuff also, stand up at night. And the Prophet sallallahu asharaful mu'min qiyamul layl, the honor and grandeur of a believer in his night prayer. This is the reminders that we need. The most mightiest of us, the most exceptional of us in terms of memorization, reading, understanding. We need reminders, We also have decline, we also have shortages here and there, but we need to remind one another. Here, Zamir, sometimes I read a hadith, and it's so much a hadith, I read. Sometimes I come to the conclusion and ask me, Zamir, what do you say? Just one word, wallahi, just one word, just one phrase, one clause, and it puts meaning to everything. All the stuff that they have, it's all in Tasarruf, and all of it takes its form. So, yani, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, bless us with regards to our knowledge and our sincerity, and keep us truthful upon that which we relay and utter to the people. We also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us, yani, truthful with regards to our interactions with the believers as well. So that's our conclusion with regards to uh, that that one stanza. Subhanallah. That is one stanza. Allah Akbar. Is there any other questions that the brothers have in relation to the talk and other than that? Dawood? Amir? Kareem, we conclude with this inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.